I really hope that dog barking I heard in the background gets caught in the recording because it was perfect with that intro. Through much trial and tribulation, welcome back to the Origin Maker podcast. Take 2 with Miss Madison Cosplay. We recorded an episode previously at C2E2 at the last day that my dumbass decided to bring only one microphone, so when she was talking very slow and quiet like she does, my microphone didn't pick her up. So here we are again.
Hello.
On the internets, doing a podcast. What is up?
It's just taking a night of relaxation before I start getting into my main project that I've been swearing I was going to work on for almost a year now, actually. Finally actually going to start doing it, so...
I know exactly what you mean. We got 5 months till Dragon Con. I've got so much to do, and I've been playing Red Dead for the past couple of days.
Ah! Yes.
Although I do have my 3D printer going, so that's a plus.
Yeah, I can hear it singing in the background.
And luckily, it doesn't get caught in the recording.
But yeah, no, this is... you know how it is when you've got projects and it's just like volumes and volumes of lists of things that you want to work on, and you know, like I've got this awesome design that Zach Fisher did, and I've just been sitting on it for a year, and it's sad and I feel bad, but also it's not going to be a fast completion either. Like it's gonna take me a while to finish it because of the crazy shit that I plan on doing for it. So
oh yeah
like it's gonna take an eternity, but it's gonna be amazing when it's done.
It sounds like it's just be one project that you just stick with till it's done, and forget everything else.
Yeah, like I've got like a little bit of business development things that I want to try to tackle as well, but I'm not, like, this is my main project for now. So if you hear me talking about anything other than this cosplay, yell at me, please. Because...
Oh, I know how it goes. I've got so many projects going on right now, it's ridiculous. Like, I did my Cyberpunk for C2E2, and now I have to make an entirely new jacket for it, because the first one wasn't good enough. Then, I've got to put together my Red Dead Redemption 2 costume for Dragon Con as well.
Naturally.
My Fallout 76 costume, which that's basically done. I just gotta make a helmet. Just a giant I-bot helmet. It's gonna be large and encumbersome, and people will have to move out of my way. But of course, I've got my other 76 costume and my other Fallout 4 costume I could always bring too, so that's not too bad.
Bring it as a backup.
I'll have all the backups. Then, of course, my main big giant project for the year, or for the next 5 months if I can get it done, is my Dawn Guard from Skyrim. The elusive thing I've been thinking about doing for years.
Thinking about tentative plans.
I made a helmet out of foam. I got that far.
Yeah, that's something.
But I'm not going to use it because it's not good enough.
Yeah, so like I made that choker for Saragossa, and I got mostly finished with it, and I was like, well, I hate this, and I'm going to completely scrap it and start over. So I can't wait to find out how many more things I work on this, and realize after I'm done that I hate it and I want to start it completely from scratch again.
I definitely know that feeling. I definitely know that feeling.
Oh, I'm so scared. Like I can make patterns and mock-ups all I want, but it's like the finishing stuff that makes it, like, really makes it like work. And so if I end up doing it wrong. Like, even if I test it on something small scale, if I try to, like, put it on the whole, like, if the armor or if I'm doing the finishing work on, like, the tunic part of it and it ends up being all wrong, it's gonna be such an expensive thing to have to do again.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's all leather and silk.
Ooh.
And it's not the cheap kind. So, you know, because leather and silk are notorious for being cheap materials as it is, so it's gonna be so bad. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's my thing with my Dawn Guard armor, is that it's gonna be so expensive that I can't mess up.
Yep.
Because, like I've told you before, we talked about, is I'm doing the helmet out of leather, I'm doing the pauldrons, the knee pads, the cuirass, all out of leather. Except the cuirass will be like a faux leather, because I don't want to die. Because I'm already going to be wearing a doublet and a tunic.
Yeah.
Then,
like 1,000 degrees.
Oh, then the cuirass is going to have, like, plates of metal on it all the way around it. Unless I price it out where it's a little bit too expensive and I say, fuck it, then I put leather plates on top of a faux leather cuirass.
I mean, I guess that's an option.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. I'm just gonna kill myself by cosplay.
Yep. That's how all of the good ones go.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah.
Cosplayer dies of heat exhaustion at Dragon Con.
What? That never happens. Or people pass the fuck out of Dragon Con because heat exhaustion and day drinking. But
yeah, I can definitely understand that one.
Yeah, it's hot. Hot Lana. And
Hot Lana.
I'm going back.
Alright.
You know, because that's where you get to see all the friends. All the cool maker people who like to go hang out there and chill out in the maker spot on the Marriott floor every night till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Then sleep till like 2 because everybody was drinking.
Yeah.
Except for me when I'm in a room with like 9 people and they're all awake in the mornings and I have to get up and go get food to function.
Why are you awake?
Yeah, it was the same thing at C2E2. I was in a room with like 11 people. And like had a giant, and we had a suite. We had a giant L couch in the corner. I slept on one end, and my apprentice slept on the other. And then like Saturday, was it Saturday night? Yeah, Saturday night. He fell asleep the wrong way, and I'm not sleeping head to head with that snoring monster. So I sleep the way I was normally sleeping, but apparently like I kicked him in the head a couple times that night.
Nice.
He was like,
nice. Well,
so,
you know, that is his fault for falling asleep the wrong direction.
I don't think he was drunk.
You do foolish things when you're drunk, especially when it comes to your proper sleeping arrangements. This just goes straight out the window after a certain amount of alcohol.
Yeah, that's true. Luckily, that didn't happen to me, even though I was drinking over a pint of rum every night.
That's impressive. I slept in my truck last night. In the freezing cold. I did not warm up my truck before going to sleep because I just did not have enough. I should explain. So cosplay is a very lucrative field. You should totally quit your job and no. So what happens was I was at Sherwood Run Fair here in Texas yesterday with Sarah from Bad Mood Leather and Bjorn and Wisdom Leatherworking and a couple of other Cerulean Flame Cosplay was there as well. And I just, you know, we were hanging out, we were looking at stuff in the shops, and we were drinking, and then it just reached a point in the evening where I was like, well, it is 2 hours to get back home, and I did not pace myself on alcohol to where I was going to be sober enough to drive. So I was like, well, I can just sleep in my truck here. And there was like a cold front that came in yesterday afternoon. And so it was like, I think it was in the 30s where we were.
Oh, shit.
And, you know, I didn't want to, like, fall asleep with my truck running and idle all night. So I just was like, I got in the truck and I had okay, I did not bring an overnight bag. I had face paint on that was alcohol based, so there was no way I was washing that. There was no way I was washing that shit off my face. So thank goodness I had leggings on underneath my dress, and then I had my dress and my shawl and my scarf and all of that other stuff. But I had a moving blanket in the back of my truck, and so I just wrapped myself in that and fell asleep in the back seat of my truck.
Oh no.
And it was so fucking cold. It was so cold. I woke up continuously throughout the night because my feet get extra cold just in general, and so I just kept getting woken up by my feet being freezing. I literally dreamed about being cold. I'm not kidding. I dreamed about being cold, and when I woke up, I was like, that's right, I'm freaking cold. So, what turned out to be 6 a.m., I finally woke up and was like, that's it. There's enough time where I can, like, heat up the truck and maybe get a little bit more sleep and not, like, get hypothermia and die in my vehicle.
Yeah.
So I turned it on, and I let the truck heat up until it was really, really effing toasty in there, and then I turned it off, and I was fine. I got to sleep for about 2 more hours, and then I had to figure out how I was going to get out of the campsite, which is very confusing. And I did not see it in the daylight before driving in, so that took a while to get out. But yeah, no, I was very cold for most of the night. I drove home in, you know, my disheveled state, face, makeup, and hair just looking a hot mess. And I just walked into the house and just flopped face first onto the sofa when I got in the house, and my husband was just like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm so tired. I was so cold. It was horrible."
Well, now you know.
I don't understand how people can rally like that. Like, how do people party at, like, a Ren fair like that, or at a con that hard, and then get up the next day and, like, tend to their booths? Like, for goodness sakes, I don't get it.
Like a champ. That's exactly how. Because you, Saturday night we were hanging out at C2E2. And I was introducing you to a ton of makers, and like I was, you know, like you saw I had my big pint glass full of rum, and I was up at like 9 o'clock the next morning, and I went to bed at like 3.
See, I can't do that. That's just... yeah. And last night, I think I had a little bit more to drink than I did at C2E2, so that was... it wasn't terrible. I was mildly hungover this morning, which I usually prefer not to be, but I forgot to drink water, and I think that was probably made a huge difference.
A good little trick is just to not get hungover.
Oh, is that all it is? Oh, I had no idea. I've been doing it wrong this whole time.
Well,
trade secrets, guys. Trade secrets.
Yeah.
Just don't get hungover.
Well, I don't get hungover, so it's a night of drinking's really not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, see, I'm a lightweight, and, like, I don't feed myself very much, and so... and I'm bad at hydrating.
Well, you are a tiny person, so the lightweight makes sense.
Yes, I am a tiny person.
But you should eat before you drink.
Well, I did eat earlier in the day, but I needed to eat again. That was the thing. I needed to eat again before continuing to drink, and that was a part of the mistake. But This was definitely not my worst. It was just kind of weird for the first, few hours afterwards, like the following day or this morning. The following day, like this didn't just happen today or something. No. All I know is I need some sleep tonight because last night was just all sorts of horrible.
Yeah, like I drank Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night straight rum, like you saw, and I got up at like 7, 8, 9 o'clock each next morning, perfectly fine, and I had only eaten like, I think Thursday I ate like on the way there, then drank that night. Didn't intend to get drunk, but I did. Friday, the only thing I ate was breakfast. I think I went to the buffet place down in one of the lobbies, and got lunch with a bunch of friends and loaded my tray up with stuff. I think that's the only thing I ate that day. Yeah, then did the same thing. Saturday, like Saturday morning, I went to breakfast with my apprentice and one of our room people. Did the same thing again. Loaded my tray up with all the stuff and scarfed it all down and was like, "Oh, I think that'll be good for the day." And I think that's all I think that's like all I ate both days. I think. I don't remember. Not because I've been drinking. I don't remember because there's a whole lot of stuff that was going on that weekend.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was fun. We got to hang out with a bunch of awesome cosplayers and makers, and like HTC Fabrication, SKS Props, Bedoni Cosplay, Bio Cosplay, Genoza Costuming, all the awesome peoples. My buddy Wildcard. Were you I don't because I saw the video of it, but my friend Jay Worm, he's from Wisconsin. We went and hung out with him at Wizard World Madison. We stayed the night over at his place every night. Then he talked my apprentice into beer bonging a full bottle of champagne.
Wow.
Without stopping.
Oh, the carbonation. God, that sounds unpleasant. And
Brent, he's a bigger dude. You know, he's a good dude, but he did it again at C2E2.
Oh. Okay.
I
did not get to witness that. That sounds just very uncomfortable.
He took it like a champ. I'll have to find a video and I'll send it to you. I think it's on Instagram somewhere. It's hilarious, but.
And I have a lot of respect for people who can drink like a full pint of beer. Like I got one of those, the C2 like beer cups. Had got some sort of beer that was actually pretty delicious, but it's so heavy and so carbonated for me. I'm just not used to it. That it was just, I had half of it and was like, can somebody else finish this? And Tam was just like, yeah, I'll take that. So
yeah. I actually didn't drink any beer during C2E2. And I like beer. I'm a beer guy. I like weird beer that tastes good.
Yeah, they had some pretty decent ones there. Can't remember their names because I was like, I'm never gonna drink this again. But
yeah, my general rule of thumb when it comes to beer, for me at least, if I can see through it, I don't drink it.
Yeah.
Unless it's an IPA and it has a really weird name.
This was one of those. This was like a pale amber colored beer. You could see through it a little bit, but it wasn't like Coors or Bud Light or whatever that's super super light. It had some ridiculous name.
You mean water?
Yes. Yes.
Because that's what those beers are to me.
So whatever it was, it had a very interesting flavor to it. I thought it was pretty good, but it also had an interesting name. I'm sure you would have enjoyed it, but I cannot give you the recommendation.
I saw the lines to it. There's like they had a few spots like that, but they just had really long lines. I was like, I'm not gonna wait to pay $20 for a beer and get a plastic mug.
Yeah, that was expensive. But
yeah.
I also didn't have any other like novelty stuff from C2, so I was like, well, I'll accept this. I'll get started on alcohol early, and I'll have something to remember the weekend by.
Yeah, we
aside from my hotel bill.
It was just you there, right? You roomed by yourself. You didn't have anybody.
Well, I got that room because I wasn't sure if previously I had the last con that I went to where I got a hotel at the convention center. It would have actually been beneficial if to like the people that I was hanging out with, if they had a place to crash for the evening, it would have been a little bit safer for them, not having to drive all the way back home. Not because of alcohol, but just because it was really late.
Yeah.
And also when you're with a bunch of other cosplayers who have very involved cosplays, like Tim was going to be bringing his Varian with him, and he was going to need a place to be able to stage his stuff or to take that stuff off.
Yeah.
Like without having to walk all the way back to the vehicle, because I understand how painful and uncomfortable it can be, and you just want to like shed all of that as fast as possible. So
that was me and my leather armor at Dragon Con.
Yeah. So like, you know, I figured it might be beneficial to somebody else if there was a room with 2 beds, and so yeah.
I was thinking about it's like I know those rooms had to be quite expensive for the weekend. It's like surprised that you got one just by yourself. Figured there would have been somebody you could have roomed with to cut down that cost.
Yeah, well, I also like my personal space because I'm more of an introvert, so I just, you know, I will pay the extra money for a little bit of solitude.
Yeah, I understand that. I definitely understand that, rooming with 11 people.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It's just I don't prefer to room with people unless they really need it. Oh my gosh, I am so tired.
So
it's not even late. I'm just like so worn out.
Yeah. So now you know not to like get really drunk and pass out in a cold vehicle.
Well, I mean, it was. Now I know how long it takes to get home from that particular event, and to not just continuously drink.
Well, or be prepared and take a go bag and a heated blanket.
Yeah.
And shit.
Should have just brought my sleeping bag.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me to do that. I could have brought my sleeping bag with me, and that would have helped. Be prepared. You never know when you're gonna need a blanket. Yeah.
Or pass out drunk in a cold vehicle.
Yes. It was so cold. It was horrible. I would never wish that on anybody.
Well, now you know. So at C2E2, as we were hanging out, saw a few panels. We saw the costume contest fiasco.
Fiasco?
Well, we already talked about it. You know, I feel I'm not gonna get into all that again.
Yeah.
Because I listened to parts of it. I was like, man, I kind of sound like an asshole. And I will be the first person to admit that yes, I am an asshole. Now
you were strongly opinionated.
I was strongly opinionated about it, and I still kind of am. But you know, I'm glad for everybody who won, and 3 of my friends won, and you know, I'm happy for them. And with rather my opinions or not, I still think that the judging could have been a little bit more diverse.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
I think there's a strong possibility that even with different judges, I still think that Cowbutt would have won anyway. But then again, I also didn't have the luxury of knowing all of the stuff that went into the other cosplays.
Yeah.
So,
also, not knowing, seeing stuff up close, you know, also other possibly hidden details or other various details in each costume that they had to look at.
Yeah.
Having a representative of the company who sponsored the event as one of the judges was probably a poor choice on their end.
Yeah, they probably should have thought about that, but
A little
that's
bit.
all right.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, if all goes well, maybe I'll get a chance to at least compete at one of the regionals for 2020. That is the hope, but I'll have to not screw up my project.
Yeah.
So, no promises.
Yeah, I thought about that. I was thinking, what could I do that I could possibly, like, just do one of the contests? Thinking that, like, what could I build? What could I have time to build? And that would garner the proper attention to be in something like that, you know? Because with all the badass costumes that were there, it was I just think it's like, what could I do? Probably nothing.
I mean, there's definitely plenty of options. I think that one of the things that's hugely beneficial to people when they try to compete, especially at a level like that, you know, in my expert opinion, having never actually competed in any of the Reed Pop competitions ever, I think that there's value in doing a cosplay that requires you to use multiple types of craft skills. And you may specialize in one area, but I think it helps to be able to show, you know, a variety of capabilities, even if you're not like an expert in each one of them. You know, if you at least do a good execution of something, you know, from, you know, foam and sewing and special effects and whatever else you want to add in there, you know, at least doing a decent job of it for one outfit, one cosplay helps.
Yeah. Also, I kind of feel like maybe at some point I should probably build something really big and impressive, just so I can be like, I made this.
Yes.
You know, because we've got friends who've been in the TwitchCon costume contest who've done elaborate, amazing costumes with Hoku props, SKS props, and Casey Renee cosplay winning the first three, and their costumes, like I said, they were badass. They were well-deserved wins and really elaborate and like stuff that I look at, but like, I'll probably never do that. Yeah, because my buddy Steve from SKS Props, he won the second one with his Theron Guard from Gears of War, and when I met Steve, he had that at a booth at a local con, and that thing is just intimidating by itself, standing there on a mannequin. It was like, wow, that's ridiculously detailed and just the stuff of like costume nightmares.
Yeah. Hence the reason why I wanted to leave myself a lot of time to be able to work on it, perfect it, put all of the right details into it, and take my time so that it's not rushed and I don't miss anything.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be doing a Zack Fisher design, you definitely want to pay attention to every detail that you do put into it. So that way, when it's done, it's magnificent and fabulous and everything you wanted it to be.
Yeah. So, hence the reason why I'm not allowed to have any other projects right now.
Yeah, I gotta find my build list and my costume list, see what I have on there that I can get done relatively fast, or see what I can put off, because I've got several costumes I gotta build.
Yeah.
And like I said last time we talked, my Red Dead costume and my Malcolm Reynolds costume from Firefly is basically the same costume, just with a few other details on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my Red Dead, it's boots, period style pants, red shirt, vest, holster, belt, spurs, hat, gloves. But you just take the boots, the pants, and the shirt, and it's Malcolm Reynolds from Firefly. You know, so it's like that's condensing two costumes into kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it helps. It definitely helps when you can do that.
And it's the same thing for my Fallout 4 Adam Cat's costume and my Fallout 76 Glacier jacket and jeans. It's the same costume with a different jacket.
Mm-hmm.
More condensed. It makes it easier to pack. That's why I was able to pack more of this for C2E2 than I thought I was going to. Condense all the things. Make all the cosplay. Build all the stuff.
Build all this stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
So you do mostly leatherworking, sewing, and stuff like that, right? That's...
Yeah. I've tried my hand in working with Warbler. I decided that unless it's for like special sculpt stuff, I'm never going to use, or I do not ever want to use thermoplastics for like large scale pieces that have to be like attached to my body ever again, because I am too bony and I am too small. It is heavy, it is sharp, and no amount of padding will make it not painful for me to wear that. I have attempted foam on multiple occasions, and it still hates me. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Well,
but it is. I want to like foam, but it's an asshole to me, and I just don't. I'm like begrudgingly still trying to work with it because I have faith that we'll be best friends one day, but not anytime soon.
Well, luckily you happen to have a few friends who build stuff out of foam a lot.
Right? Yes.
Also, you've got people like Punish Props, Kamui Cosplay, and people like that who have books on making foam props and costumes.
I have watched the videos. I own the books. I just like for whatever reason, like there are things about it that just escape me, and so I haven't worked with it long enough. Like doing the armor for Captain Marvel was a pretty big step for me because that actually didn't turn out horrible, but there were still things that I did wrong on it that I will have to not do next time. So
when it comes to Warbler, I've used a little bit of Warbler. I haven't used it a whole lot. But as one of my friends likes to say, it's like wrapping your costume in $20 bills.
Yes.
Yeah. Because Warbler is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And annoying to work with sometimes. But, of course, when it's appropriate for the build, it's appropriate for the build. And if it does what you need it to do, then more power to you to use that particular material.
Yeah.
Because I've got to build a robotic arm for my cyberpunk costume. That's the one thing I didn't get to do for C2E2. And I'm going to make it out of Warbler. Because I want it to be form-fitting to my arm, hand, fingers.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Almost burped. And that way I know it won't be like weirdly large looking if you used foam.
Yeah.
So that way
it's a little bulkier.
Yeah, with Warbler, I can make it look like a robotic prosthetic. It will do what I want it to do, and I can build it in a way where I can just have it like stretch apart with some like elastic, so I can like have little tabs that when you put it back together, it like snaps back in place.
You're definitely gonna need that because well, I guess it depends on what kind of layering you're planning on doing with it, but if you're trying to take advantage of the semi-flexibility of Warbler, and you're just dealing with a single layer of it, it will break eventually. It is not strong enough to withstand too much bending over time.
No, I'll probably over-engineer it more than I need to where it does what I need it to do for like however long I need to wear it for. Because that's just what I do. Because sometimes I over-engineer things to make things.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I actually personally think that Warbler is easier to work with than foam. But then again, I also didn't. The last time I worked with it, it wasn't as clean as like people who work with that stuff on a regular basis. But I also was using the original, the brown, which is textured compared to Warbler Black.
Yeah.
Warbler Black is not as durable, though. It's definitely a little bit more brittle because it doesn't have the wood pulp in it. So.
Yeah, I've mostly used the black Warbler. That's what I mostly use when I have used it. And I don't know. I would like to practice more with it just to have that extra skill, but like I got foam, I've got leather, I've got my 3D printer now, and I've got all this other shit. It's like I only need to use certain things for certain things, and I don't need to be a master at it. I should be, but I'm not. But yeah, if you got your tools for what you need to do, but
yeah,
you're currently making boots, right?
You mean the ones that were on my Instagram?
Yeah.
So I got to, first off, I did not have the materials to be able to properly like create the sole for them. So when I do make my like real boots, that's gonna be a whole other challenge. There's a lot of like specialty steps like welting and jimming that I'm gonna have to learn how to do. But also I tried to use an EcoFlow water stain instead of just dyeing them, and I hated the way that it looked, and I was dumb and didn't try it out on a scrap piece of leather before putting it on my project. And so now I've just given up on that. So they're just going in a drawer, and I'm not going to touch them. But I will be making boots again, and they're going to look better the next time around.
I distinctly remember last time we were talking that you did almost the same thing to a leather corset that you made, right?
Oh yeah, no, you mean where I put pink oil on it and sealed that before doing any like, yeah, no, the one that I'm planning on tooling leather and just riveting it on top so that I can actually put the decorations on that I wanted. Yes, I do that often. I get impatient and I don't take my time to think out the next step when I get close to the end of something, and so I end up just ruining it. It's great. It's one of my favorite qualities about myself.
It happens. It's just like you're just telling me that. It's like she just told me like the same thing just a couple weeks ago.
Yep. It happens, but at least the corset was wearable. The boots, I don't even want anybody to see them. That's why I haven't posted a picture since then. Yeah. We're just gonna pretend like.
Just delete it from your Instagram. It never existed.
Never existed. Not at all.
Except now somebody will listen to this in the future and be like, she made boots?
We're gonna have to redo the stream. No. Redo this podcast. No, I will
for the third time.
Boots for my Saragossa, the Zach Fisher design, and they will look better. They'll look glorious when I'm done with them, even if it takes me 10,000 pairs to be able to get to one pair that looks right. Because I am hell-bent on making these look amazing.
Well, at least by then you'll probably figure out what you're doing wrong and be able to do it right.
So. I hope so.
I figured after the first 100, I probably would give up.
I mean, otherwise I'm going to be really, really pissed off at Thomas Edison if I don't get it by then.
I think that was only 1,000.
Well,
or was it? Or was
I'm
it?
not as smart as him. I don't know what to say.
I probably just butchered that too. It was like 10,000 ways or 1,000 ways.
Yes, it's
10,000.
Yeah, it's like it is. It's that, and no, it's gonna take me an order of magnitude more to be able to figure it out on mine. So.
Well, luckily there's probably a ton of YouTube videos of somebody making shoes.
Oh yeah.
Leather shoes. So I'd probably help out a little bit.
I have a few different video tutorials that are old and crappy, but are the most useful I've seen in my many attempts at researching this. So I'm looking forward to it. Half of the supplies are just, people don't just make shoes anymore, really. Like you've got your cobblers that do shoe repair, and that's about the closest thing you get in like the most immediately available market of supplies.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a dying trade. It's like almost dead.
It is. It's actually interesting. I get the same comment about sewing from people at the fabric store, because most people who sew these days are like quilters or like small home craft sewers. They're not like garment sewers unless they specifically work for a designer.
Yeah.
So people just outside of that making their own clothes is not very common. I went and bought embroidery thread one time and got the same comment. They were like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know anybody did that anymore."
Okay,
like, we all sell this stuff.
All right, so you just reminded me of something fantastic that happened. So, as you probably know by now, my friend Steve from SKS Props has released his own line of high density quality cosplay prop fabrication foam.
Yes.
It is amazing. I'm waiting on. My foam clay has arrived. I'm waiting on the rest of my foam to arrive so I can start making stuff out of it.
Nice.
But to bring this up again, but during the costume contest at C2E2, because Yaya Han is sponsored with a particular company that I don't feel like mentioning. Nobody heard, but the
place that I shop at religiously.
Yeah, no, they had the guy came on stage in a not so good costume and like half-assed glossed over the fact that they're gonna come out with this cosplay foam. It was the saddest thing and the funniest thing, because my friend's coming out with this line of foam, then this is happening, and we're like, what the hell's going on? And like there's already a company, TNT Cosplay Supply, that has really nice foam for cosplay prop and fabrication. Mm-hmm. I like their foam. Their foam is great. I love it.
The foam.
I've got a ton of it in my shop right now that I have to use too. And it's like, you think, knowing how certain cosplay lines have come out through this said company, that I'm just wondering how crappy this foam's gonna be.
I'm really curious to see what it's like. I will 100% be doing like testing whenever. I have no idea when it's gonna come out because he didn't say, but I will be comparing it to what I've got here.
Oh, so will I.
So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I just like that came up and was like, I can actually talk about this now.
It'll probably be on par with the current materials that they have. So, you know, if there's something to be said for having the convenience of being able to go to a store and purchase, but like TNT, their shipping is super fast.
Yeah,
but that might also just be because they are only a few hours north of where I am.
Well, yeah, that's because you're lucky. Because like
my parents live 5 minutes from their location. I'm like, I swear I will buy so much stuff if y'all open up the shop on the weekend so I can come in
right
and see you guys.
Yeah, my buddy Chris Talk Custom works for them. And well, like those guys are really cool. I met them at Dragon Con. And I know that like the one thing is I know my buddies came out with his line of foam. I'm going to be using that because I'm obviously going to support my friend and buy and use his material. But also, I'm going to support TNT Cosplay Supply because those guys are really nice and cool. I hung out with them at Dragon Con. I'm going to continue to use their foam as well.
Yeah.
But I probably won't use the whatever foam comes out of said company. Most likely, I'll look at it when it comes out, and once I'll do some touchy feelies on it just to see how it feels, and if it's anything like
burn it, cut it, sand it.
Probably just burn it and call it a day.
Not with a hot tool, just with a lighter and lighter fluid. No.
I got a fire pit and just do the world nuts. No, I'm joking. I don't mean to shit on this company at all because it's not what I'm about. It's just that when you were talking about buying materials and people are like at a place, it's like, oh, that just reminded me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I buy so much stuff from there as it is that I mean.
Yeah. I did not mean to go off on that tirade at anybody. And if my friends are listening, either be SKS Props or TNT Cosplay Supply, you guys are my friends. I will continue to support you no matter what because you guys are awesome.
I will continue to buy foam from you guys.
Yeah. But I probably will not support the giant evil corporation. I don't know if they're evil. I'm just talking on my ass. Anyways, so it's been a few weeks. No, been
a week.
Been a week since we last talked and hung out, and since C2E2 was done and over with. Now that you've had time to gestate and think on it, what was your impressions of C2E2 as a whole?
It was a killer experience. I hope to be there next year. In one capacity or another. It would be great to be there again. There's so many talented people and so many.
Oh God, yeah, there were.
There's so many great people from the industry who were there, and I really just need to get better at talking to people and not being so socially awkward around them. So.
Hence why I kept throwing people at you.
I met some great people while I was there, but I also feel like I greatly missed out on talking to people as well. Just because I couldn't muster up the words to have a discussion about anything. So.
Hence why Saturday night I was just like, hey, this is Miss Madison Cosplay. I'm like, here you go. Walking away.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. That's a huge help. Yeah. But like I stood like 4 feet behind Kimpatsu, who was talking to Canvas Cosplay, and I was just like, I don't know how to say words right now. Like I mean,
yeah.
She's it's probably going to be a while before I ever see her again. I mean, the chick came from out of freaking country, like one of the longest possible flights you could take to get like from another place to get here, and I couldn't muster up 2 words to say to her. I mean,
because words are hard.
words and things are difficult. So yeah, that was just. I was really disappointed with myself. I was like, wow, this is like the epitome of how this weekend has gone for my social skills.
Yeah, the one of the costume contest contestants that had the giant like spider scorpion thing.
Oh yes, my boo cosplay.
Yeah, my boo cosplay. I ran into them. It was Sunday. They were outside, I think, waiting on something, and they're like, "Oh, it's those guys." So I went up and talked to them for like a brief second. Just like, "Hey, I saw your costume. It's like it's fucking amazing." Like, I can't see what you guys get to do next. And they're like, "Oh, well, thank you," because I don't think English was their first language.
No, it is definitely not.
Definitely not. But you know, there's like when you see people like that, you know, cosplayer or whatever, it's just easier just to be like swallow that nervous pride and be like, "Hi."
I gotta keep reminding myself that all of the other cosplayers are just also
People.
like mega nerds who can also be really weird and really awkward, and that me going up and having a hard time saying words but just like making a gesture of recognition of them would even be sufficient, because I mean, all of us have literally been there.
Yeah, well, like, you know, because there's like quote unquote famous cosplayers, like some of the judges supposedly, you know, they're like, I'm not gonna get into that whole thing.
Have a large following of
people. And it was like I used to play shows. I used to be a musician. I go traveling around. I played shows, and I'd play shows with some pretty big acts. Way more famous than the quote-unquote famous cosplayers that like to stick their nose up at everybody.
Yeah.
It was like, fucking talk to them like a goddamn human being, and they'll be your best friend for the next 10 minutes. And then it's like, sometimes, but there's been not a whole lot, but there's been a few people you try to talk to in the cosplay community, then it's like, well, that wasn't very fun.
But, I mean, that can happen with anybody, like in any sort of
that's
industry,
true
though.
That's true. And I've
some people just suck.
And yes, that's true. Some people just suck, and I've experienced that in several different fields and communities and stuff like that. So that's understandable. But it's like most of the time, people are just talk to them like a normal human being. If there's somebody there you see that, like, say you're at C2E2 again next year, and one of the cosplayers you look up to is there, and you can't just muster the words, just force yourself to walk over there, tap him on the shoulder, to be like, yeah, excuse me, I felt like I was going to burp. It totally interrupted what I was getting ready to say. Just go up to him and be like...
Just walk up to them and burp in their face.
No, do not do that. Anybody who... To any of the people who are listening to this, do not walk up to anybody that you admire and just burp in their face. That will not end well. No, just go talk to them, like, just like find an excuse, like they're a cosplayer, they weren't, like, you saw their costume, it looks fantastic. Just go up and be like, that costume was fantastic, like, it was super impressed, like, and just open up a dialogue with them about it. And the last 5 minutes or shit, an hour, you know, you never know. It could be your best friend by the time you're done talking to them. So it's like, next time we're hanging out at a con and I see you, you're like, you're not sure who you want to talk to, I'm just going to grab some random cosplayer that I know and be like, have you met Madison? And walk away.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I need help with that. Hopefully I'll get better at it by next year.
If you go to Dragon Con, I'm going to be doing that to you the entire time.
I still need to find out if I'm going to be going, but yes, I would very much appreciate that.
There are so many goddamn good cosplayers, makers at Dragon Con. It is ridiculous. Like last year was my first year, and I felt like I walked away with an ungodly amount of new friends.
Yeah.
Because I met a ton of makers that I followed on Twitch and other social medias like YouTube or Twitter or whatnot. And it's like, it felt overwhelming at first, but then it's like, these guys are just like me. They like to drink and eat pizza. You can always become somebody's best friend if you have pizza and beer.
Yep. True story.
Yeah, it happened.
It's a universal language, really.
It's true. If you got booze and food, you'll make a friend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Booze and food. Not much food, but there were booze aplenty at C2E2. Yeah. So I've kind of just glossed over the point of this podcast because I know we started talking about the materials that you used. So this is going to be the worst segue ever. But why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this?
What made you want to do this?
All right, I'm
gonna have this conversation again.
Yeah, great. No, I've always liked making stuff. You know, I've not particularly well, but there was a point where I transitioned from using like duct tape and super glue and hot glue for everything to being like, oh, hey, I'd like to learn how to use a sewing machine. You know, I used to get really, really effing extra with my Halloween costumes. I still do. But I had never combined that with my nerd side. I used to have friends when I was in high school who would go to Katsucon because that was, I lived in Maryland and Katsucon was right there. But I never wanted to ask my parents to let me go to that just because I was like, it's got to be so much money, and I would want to dress up, and I just do not want to ask my parents for money to be able to work on projects. So I just like put that in the back of my mind. And then, you know, a few years ago, I was talking with my hairdresser at the time, and he was like, you should totally go to Alamo City Comic Con and you should totally dress up. And I was like, oh, that's right. That's a thing that people do. And so magically, I just like started researching cosplay stuff and came across Kawaii Cosplay and then made a suit of Warble armor. So, if you wouldn't mind holding on 1 second, I have to do the... I'm sorry, I'll be right back.
So little caveat, I don't have any hard feelings towards any company or any cosplayer or any individual person. It's just how the conversation was flowing. You do feel like that I have been an asshole during this episode. I do apologize, but also my opinions do not reflect. My opinions are my opinions, and they don't reflect how people are in real life. Because most people that I didn't want to mention, I've either met them or had slight conversations with them, and sometimes your first impressions of somebody isn't always the best impression. So if you feel like that I've been kind of an asshole or a douche this episode, and you're right to think that way, just wanted to say that just to get it out of the way, because I'm, as Madison knows, I'm easy to get along with, and if you talk to me more than 5 minutes, we'll be best friends.
Yes, a nice person. Just, you know, everybody has their opinions about things.
Yeah. I had to fill that little gap of time. It's either promote my shirts or tell people, hey, I'm not that much of an asshole.
I'm not as much of an asshole as I seem to be. No.
I just like. No, I felt like I had to say something because I was just thinking, like, man, I'm kind of sounding like an asshole right now at some of those points we were talking. So.
Yeah, so I guess getting back to your question, that's not really a why, that's more of a how. I don't really know why I continue to do this. I think it's just that it's given me so much inspiration and so much creative outlet, and I've enjoyed it so far, even when it was wildly stressful, that I just like keep trying to see how much more of it I can do and how much more of an impact I can try to make with other people. So You know, I'm just kind of slowly escalating it, seeing how far I can take it.
Yeah, because you've gone into beginning with Warbler of all things.
Yeah, right.
Then you started working with leather, and you started working with fabrics and sewing.
Yeah.
But now, because last time we talked, you had wearing a costume that you had basically pieced together. You did a little bit of like sewing, then a little bit of leather working, and adding bits and bobs to it.
Yep.
And you've kind of seems like you're finding your medium of stuff you want to use. As like a outside look, it looks like you're leaning more towards fabric and leather production than other cosplay
definitely
means.
They're more agreeable for me. I understand. I think I've had the most experience with sewing. Not that I have any sort of formal training, but for whatever reason, I think I have a better comfort and comprehension of stuff related to needlework than anything else. But leather, for whatever reason, just like is agreeable to me. So
yeah, leather is rather easy to work with, I find. I do a little bit of sewing. I haven't touched my new sewing machine yet because my previous one left with my wife. So the new one I haven't really messed with lately. I need to set it up because I have a table just adjacent to my desk that was going to be my sewing table, but that turned into my 3D printing table. So I need to find a space for my sewing machine because I'm going to need to use it when I finally tackle my Dawnguard armor.
Yes.
Which will be a mixed media of leatherworking, metalworking, sewing, all around hell.
Yeah. What kind of sewing machine do you have?
I have a Singer, of all things.
This podcast brought to you by Singer and
No, it is not.
Definitely not brought to you by Singer.
Yeah, and I'll plug my friends all day long for free. I do not need to be sponsored by them. It's a 6180 model, I think. I don't know. I kind of. Yeah. I've got a sewing machine. It does a thing.
Yeah.
I still got to figure it out.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. That's gonna be a monster to learn how to do all that over again. Now, yeah, it's gonna be a process, but I've noticed you've doing a lot of leatherworking, you're doing a lot of sewing, and it looks like it's agreeing with you more than foam.
Yes, I have a better relationship with those two than I do with foam.
So how long have you been doing the cosplay thing, or not the cosplay, but more or less making in general? How long have you been doing that for now?
That's a good question. 15. So I think I've been sewing a year longer than I've been doing cosplay in general. So cosplay, like, I officially started working on my first project about 3 years ago. And I started sewing the year before that. So it's not like I have a whole lot of experience, but
you've been messing around stuff for about 4 years.
Yeah, so I've been messing around with stuff for about 4 years, and
because that's what I've been doing. I've been messing around with stuff for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Because I will say it, I've said it before, I am a hobbyist maker. I would love to be somebody who makes stuff for a living, but that doesn't necessarily pay my bills.
Yeah.
But I would love to just make stuff all day and get paid to do it. But there are people who are way better at it who get paid to make stuff for a living that are just way better than me. That's why I stick with goldsmithing. Because I am actually good at that.
Yeah, you do that awesomely. It's beautiful. Like, your work is awesome. So
yeah, for those who are listening who follow me on Instagram, for a while I had a daily weld where I posted little snapshots of the jewelry that I was working on a day-to-day basis. Mostly setting it on fire.
Who doesn't like doing that?
Caveat, don't set things on fire unless you know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Although I really loved it at Tim's panel on electronics and lighting at C2, where he was just like, if you want to go really wild and just like light yourself on fire.
Oh,
I
Jesus.
was like, okay, you were talking about safety like 5 minutes ago, and now you're telling people that it's totally okay for them to light themselves on fire. Like, that is just, no, not that.
I think that was a joke that didn't quite land.
Well, of course it was, but you know how people are.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I appreciated it.
He's a good dude. Tim is a good dude.
Yes.
I'm glad I got to see him again. I only get to see him at cons, and I've been telling him, I was like, dude, we need to actually hang out in like the real world. Because every time I've hung out with him, it's been like at a con. Like I found him on Twitch because he was working on some Fallout stuff. I was like, oh, I make Fallout stuff. I'm gonna watch this. And I was like talking to him, and he's like, I gave him my Instagram page, and he's like, how have I not ever followed you before? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be at this con. I was like, I think it was a PopCon here in Indy, and it's like, oh, I live in Indy. I was like, dude, we'll hang out, we'll meet and stuff, and like hung out for a while he was able to, and talked for a bit, and was like, now we talk on a daily basis, and he's like my best fucking friend. But he lives 3 hours away, and I only see him at cons, and I was like, I need to hang out with that dude in like the real world. It was like, because I took him and his and Diana out for dinner when they were here in town for Gen Con, and that was nice. I actually got to actually hang out and talk like in like a social setting that's not business. But I think I may try to make a trip up there and actually hang out with them in the real world, and not while they got like a million things going on, or
and super stressed, and
because you were on stream when me, SKS Props, Wildcard, Iron Grizzly Props popped in on his Twitch stream.
Yes,
as he's killing himself over the Varian armor.
I was actually there the following night on his stream.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, because he he was still working on Variant at the time. He gave up later that evening, but he we were there with a couple of his friends, and Diana was there too, and they were all working on like distressing their cosplays with paints in the background. So I'm just like, Tim's like they're soldering, and I'm in the background just like doing shit and like making faces at the camera.
Did you see the child-sized mannequin with the adult face on it up on the shelf? Is that not the creepiest fucking thing you've ever seen?
There's a lot of creepy things in his workshop. The building itself is super creepy.
Yeah. Well, you probably saw it at night, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Diana and I went there, got there first, and so like we walk into like the very first room when you go in the door, and I looked around and I was like, "Are you gonna kill me now?"
So this seems sketchy.
It was super creepy, and I had to find my way out of there to be able to Uber back to the hotel, and we couldn't find the door to get out. We got downstairs, but I couldn't for the life of me remember which door was the one to get to the other door to get out, and so because it's like multiple rooms you have to go through. And I was like, this is something out of like Resident Evil. Like, I don't know what is happening right now, but I feel like something horrible is going to happen to me.
You just hear the clank of the gates.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh god, it's happening. Oh no. Yeah, actually, his workspace is actually pretty cool. I was there. I had one of my molds that I did a shitty job on trying to get some cast out of it for a cyberpunk group, and I was just failing miserably. Failing miserably, I should interject. Very miserably. Nah, I'm in the yeah, I saw he started streaming on Friday night, but we were drinking.
Yes.
Heavily.
Yeah.
Hanging out with everybody. And then
yeah, we were there just trying to help finish up the last minute stuff, and I left and late, and Tim was still working, and I was like, dude, you gotta call it.
he man, Tim like kills himself every time he's working on a project. Every time it feels like every time I see Tim, he just wants to go to bed.
Yeah. Just permanently exhausted, just super stressed out, and
Yeah,
it's hard. That's the face of self-employment. It's challenging in the industry to do that. So
that was the most common face I saw on everybody was, I need sleep.
yes.
Like, cosplayer I met, I ran into her again, I think it was Sunday before I left, and I saw her, I was like, you just look so tired. And she's like, don't tell anybody. And like, everybody I saw just looked tired. It's like, it's either you party too hard and didn't pace yourself, or you've been working on stuff every night.
It's both of those things, and then I think a lot of the people who go to these events can be drained very quickly of their energy by social interactions, and that's a lot of social interaction to stuff into a single weekend.
Well, not really. Like,
yes, it is. Yes,
well,
it is.
This comes from the dude who's like walking around the lobby with a pint of rum, talking to everybody.
Yeah, well, you're okay. You don't count.
I don't count.
No, you don't count. You're an outlier. No, like it's exhausting going and walking around and doing people stuff with that many other people. Even if you're like not succeeding because you're being weird and awkward about it, it's still exhausting.
Oh, granted, I made friends with the dude in a ketchup bottle costume, so
yeah.
But I was hanging out with him the night before, then drinking and hanging out. Because when I go to cons, I network. I talk to people. I don't really like talking to people, but when I'm at a con in that kind of setting, I'm networking just to make new maker friends or just new friends in general, because you never know when somebody wants to do a collaboration or somebody wants to buy something. So just network and do all the things. But there's like he told me they got a funny costume the next day. Then I see him again, and it's he's in a ketchup bottle. Is either his wife or girlfriend was in a Pikachu onesie, and the joke is Pikachu loves ketchup.
Nice.
Then it's like, that is adorable and hilarious at the same time, and I cannot handle it. Then like I see him later that night, they're still in costume, drinking, and it's like, this is gonna be the best night ever. It was pretty was. It was actually pretty good. I actually liked hanging out with all the people I was like hanging out with. Like, people I was rooming with were really cool. A lot of friends. And then we did our groups and the lobby con drinking game. You know, berating one of our friends because he can't grow a real beard, or one of our friends chugging a skull bong full of wine.
And then just the ridiculous dance party stuff that was going on too. There's that chick in the Fiji water onesie. It was I had never seen one of those before. That was awesome.
Oh, just so you know, before I went to bed around 3 a.m., they were picking her up off the floor.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Like, legit, like, I'm just seeing if any of my friends are still awake before I call it quits that late at night. And they are literally picking her up off the floor. A guy's just, like, bear hugging her, holding her up. And they're like, we got to get her out of here. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yes, you do. You should probably get your friend off the floor and up in a bed and make sure she doesn't puke herself to death. Yeah. Because people don't know how to moderate their drinking. Yeah. Mostly.
So that's a guy who talks about drinking, like, rum in gratuitous amounts and being fine.
Not only rum in gratuitous amounts, nothing but rum the entire weekend.
Yes. Pure rum. I can't do that. And I don't even attempt to do that because I am not capable of said consumption, so.
Yeah, I blame Dragon Con for my renewed relationship with rum. Because when we ran into Tim and he like I had my drink, I offered him a drink. He thought it was like a mixed drink and was like, "Oh, this is just rum." I was like, "Yeah."
Yep.
The next 4 or 5 drinks later.
You are correct, sir.
And it was like the next 4 or 5 times, it's like I need more rum. Yeah, it was fun though. Like I will be sad the day that I drink heavily like I do that night, then I actually wake up with a hangover. And I know the day is coming because I am not getting any younger.
It's not fun.
No, but I will sure as shit fight till the end. Until that day I wake up hungover as fuck and curse the world because my magical ability is left me.
Curse yourself. It'll be it'll be painful.
Probably.
Yeah.
Then I'll probably get up and like, okay, time to go work out. And just hate myself the entire time.
I can't function even with like anything close to resembling a hangover. It's just I can't do it. My body is just not made for that. I don't know how people rally when they're hungover.
Yeah. I don't know. People do it. People party hard and get up and do it the next day. Like some of my roommates were like, "Man, I'm hungover." I was like, "I drank a lot last night." It's like, "Yeah, you did. I was right there with you, and I'm totally fine. I don't know what's wrong with you." Just give them shit because it's easy.
It's like, yo, wuss. Get it together.
Yeah.
We got a long day ahead of us.
Oh yeah, long day. Yeah, definitely. Luckily, I didn't have any real plans. I had the podcast scheduled, and I recorded 2 out of the 4 that were scheduled. But obviously, we're redoing the one we did again.
Yes.
Which right now, I kind of see like it's way better than it was originally.
I was dying. I was just dying from a cold, so yeah. I was not that exciting.
Yeah, no, I got another one to record this coming Wednesday with a friend up in Lafayette.
Nice.
So this will be coming out tomorrow. Then Wednesday I'm going to go hang out with a friend, record a podcast, probably talk to another friend to see if he wants to do one. Then have 2 in the back burner for the following 2 Mondays. Then after that I got to figure out who I want to talk to. Who's going to put up with the troubleshooting for more than an hour.
Go try to get Evil Ted again.
Ted's a busy dude. I would love to talk to him again, but I want to save him for later. I got a few other people that I want to talk to. I'm going to see if my buddy Wildcard wants to. I know I got plans to do one with Wildcard and SKS Props, but I want to actually do them in person like we did originally.
Yeah.
But I have to like travel to where they live and it's a drive. But it gives me an excuse to go hang out with my friends that I will only get to see like at like Dragon Con or C2E2. But also, I got plans to do one with Ganoza Costuming because she won overall best in show during C2E2.
Yes.
I gotta shoot Sam a message from Bio Cosplay because he won first place in special effects, and see if my friend Madoni Cosplay would like to do one since she won third place in armor. So get the friends out of the way, then try to like get some variance in the content, because right now it's mostly just cosplay and prop making right now. And I kind of want to talk to like makers of all kinds, people who make different things like blacksmiths or fucking luthiers, people who work on and make instruments, or shit, people who make blankets. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It's like one of those things. It's like making is such a broad spectrum of things. Like you can make all kinds of stuff. People who make furniture, people who make content on YouTube, or people who make whatever the fuck this thing is behind me. I honestly don't know what that is called.
I don't remember what that thing is called. It's that trifold like partition thing.
Partition wall or something stupid like that.
Yeah, there's a name for it though.
Yeah, because like, you know, like my initial plans, if I can ever swing it, is to turn this podcast into a business and not stumble over my words and make myself sound like an asshole the majority of the time. Like I feel like I've kind of done today.
Nah.
Nobody's gonna listen to this anyways.
There's literally the only rules are your rules.
Right.
This is your podcast.
Yeah. You know, because I don't have any sponsors. None of this, like any of the plugs that I do, or because they're my friends, or it's because their product is actually good. But you know, it's just one of those things. Is like I want to talk to more people about making things, because that's the one thing human beings will constantly do for all time is make stuff. Yep. Until we tell a computer, make me a thing, and we don't ever make anything ever again because it turned into Star Trek. Oh, like, because I got my new 3D printer. It's an Ender 3 by Creality, and I feel like if you would have shown me a 3D printer as a kid, it would have been like, oh, is that the thing from Star Trek? Because now they got 3D printers that actually 3D print food, which is kind of weird. Not gonna lie, that sounds kind of weird. But one day,
hey, as long as it has essential nutrients and it tastes good.
I kind of feel like that's like the end game for 3D printers is the replicators from Star Trek. When I'm like,
yeah, that could be the master plan for sure.
Yeah, when I'm 90 and about to die, is like they release the replicators. It's like, I knew it. Then I just die.
Called it. Last thing you ever said.
Yeah. That would be like the worst last words ever. Called it. Like, called what? What did you call?
What did he call? You have to make sure that it's like written down like somewhere in a notebook, so that somebody will go through your belongings after you're gone and find it and go, oh, he totally did call it.
Or luckily now somebody can just go on the internet and find this old ass podcast from 90 years ago. They're like, wow, Grandpa used to be an asshole.
It's only gonna ripen with age.
Oh God. I'm getting gray hairs in my beard, and it's like scaring me because like I'm not that old to be that distinguished, and it's like, pluck these motherfuckers out.
I have found white hairs on my head, and I'm like, well, I guess that's happening now.
Yeah, it's
finally starting to catch up with me.
I'm gonna fight it. Gonna fight it. Cause
I was just like, if it could happen quickly, then I don't have to pay money to get my hair just like completely bleached platinum. It'll just be natural, and then I'll be like really cool for a while because that's like the trend. Because I'm pretty damn sure it's white and not silver. Like, it is just white.
Oh, yeah, no. The hair... I pulled a hair out of my beard today, and it was white. I'm like, the stress is getting to me. Oh, no. Yep.
Adulthood is starting to catch up.
I'm like, oh, no. No! Not now! Wait 10 years! Well... So yeah, I feel like this is way better than last time. After the hour of troubleshooting.
Yes.
Oh my god. I don't.
It was more like 2 hours.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that was 2 hours of troubleshooting.
Oh god damn.
Yeah.
This is why I like to do things in person, because that's just less problems.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna upgrade.
Unless you only bring one mic.
Yeah, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for that. But I am going to be upgrading my equipment. Like, actually get like an external mixer that I can actually plug multiple mics into, then do it the proper way instead of plugging in a mic and hoping it all works out.
Yeah.
Because that's basically my Twitch stream, is plugging shit in and hoping it works out.
That is 100% of my Twitch streams.
Well, we've been going. Actually, we went longer than last time, which is cool.
Yeah.
But if you are a maker and you make stuff, whether it be leatherworking, sewing, cosplay prop and fabrication, what was the luthier? If you're a luthier, or you make kitchen utensils, or just whatever. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Glass window maker.
Oh god, I know a guy who does that. That is like the most stressful thing ever. Little caveat, I used to be a window glazer. I used to work for a window company where I would clean windows before they took them out and installed them in the houses. And one of the things that we were working on was a stained glass window, where we had to call in a specialist to redo all the lead work on stained glass. And he was explaining to me the process of it, and I was like, that's really involved, really time consuming, and really fucking expensive.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure he made a pretty penny off repairing that stained glass window. Well, back to what I was saying. If you are a maker of any kind and you would like to come on this podcast and talk to me about whatever it is that you make, I will gladly welcome you to talk to me about whatever it is that you do. You can contact me on Facebook at The Origin of the Maker. Just shoot me a message there, or you can send me an email at dlcprops.indie@gmail.com. All thoughts and comments about this podcast do not reflect anything on any company or any person, because, you know, I have opinions and I'm an asshole. And I think Madison's like laughing at me disagreeably. I can see it in your face.
You can see it in my face? What do you see in my face?
Oh, can I tell, like, the disappointment or the disagreement?
Nah, you're not an asshole.
We
don't have our strong opinions about things.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 7 of the Origin Maker podcast with Miss Madison Cosplay. Where can they find you next? What is your next event that you will be attending, if you want to share?
I'll be in a hole until next year. No. Let's see. I am going to be hosting my first ever panel at a small local con here in actually in Austin. It's at Anime CTX, specifically on leatherworking for anime cosplay. It's just like a really basic run through of pricing, basics of leatherworking, how it applies to anime, and hopefully I'll have some examples. Otherwise, you're just going to be showing pictures of other people's work and being like, see, one day you can be as awesome as them. I aspire to be like that one day. I actually don't know anything, guys. They didn't. This isn't even a real panel. I just put up a poster board outside, and y'all just showed up. Yeah, so that'll be in May, and then I'm gonna be helping out my friend Bad Mood Leather, who is out of Austin. She has a workshop booth at Comic Palooza in May as well. So I will be in my hole streaming and working on stuff for April, and in May I will reemerge and be at 2 events. And after that, I don't know.
So you can catch Miss Madison Cosplay on Twitch.
Yes.
So definitely go give her a follow. Check out all the awesome stuff that she does on the Instagram.
Or tell me how not awesome it is, please.
You don't invite the trolls. Once you invite the trolls, they never leave.
As long as they're the trolls that can, like, criticize my work, I can't... Yeah. Sorry. You want to get me started on opinions about things. Get me started on trolls.
Oh, man. On that note, everybody, I will catch you next time with probably one of my close friends, if it all goes as planned. So thank you so very much for listening to me stumble over my words with my friend, Miss Madison Cosplay.
Thank you guys for listening.
All right, guys, I will catch you later.